Okay, so this is going to be a longish video with hopefully some useful advice, tips, tricks, and reasons why I've done what I've done, because I think it might resonate with other people in a similar situation. So, Chinese carbon wheels, yes, that old story, that old chestnut, has come back again. So a different perspective and maybe a different take. I'm going to try and keep this brief. I did one of these videos already and it ran on for about 30 minutes and my phone nearly exploded. So I did a ton of research. I needed some new wheels. Two reasons. One, I'm very capable of mending wheels, changing bearings, setting up wheels, setting up bikes, etc, etc. However, my wheel set on my felt, which I built from parts, I've replaced the bearings twice in the wheel sets over the years. I've replaced the bearings in the hub. There's a video online of me doing that to show you how to do that, because it's a bit of an interesting one. And there's still a bit of play in the rear wheel. Also, I came home, and I'm not going to get too much into the story of what happened, but I found myself riding home incredibly late one evening, and normally I'm incredibly careful on my bike, but I hit an enormous pothole on the rear. I blew my tyre out. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I did damage the rim. I managed to straighten the rim. I've managed to re-true it and flatten it off. However, it still clicks a little bit on the brake when I'm braking at speed. So, hopefully, a long story slightly shorter, I decided to get some new wheels. Now, I was looking around the UK, Mavics at Askims and Xerims and Cosmics, and was quite gobsmacked at how much money you can spend on a wheel set in the UK. And so, of course, the Chinese bell over here, this little bell, tiny wheel set, tiny wheel set. You watch YouTube all the time, go to China. I have a friend who deals in China with lots of fabrication work. Yeah, so I did loads of research and came to Carbon Speed Cycles, mainly because they had lots of good reviews. I got into an email correspondence with the chap there. His correspondence was absolutely brilliant. Depending on what time of day I was sending the emails, obviously, but he would get back to me certainly within an hour or so. He put up with my ridiculous amount of questions, trying to find, because I should say I bought these through AliExpress, trying to find the correct link so that I got the right ones. So what I was looking for were 50mm, U-shaped, tubular, originally on R36, but I did some research and people suggested that maybe straight spokes probably weren't good for me, as good as J spokes. I decided to spec them with the higher spec Novatec hubs for two reasons really. One, I'd watched lots of videos of people who'd done over 10,000k on Novatec hubs and had seen loads and loads of stuff on forums about people who'd used them. I do appreciate that they come with really crappy Chinese bearings, and another reason why I went with CSC was because I had that conversation with Tom at CSC, and he said, yep, he said, we use Chinese bearings, they are not the best. He was completely honest, and he said, quite rightly, his reasons and their reasons for not using them. When people from the UK want to buy cheap wheel sets, they will not fork out for expensive bearings. I think that's foolhardy. I'm also very fortunate that I have a friend who owns a bearing company called SMB Bearings in Brize Norton, SMB Bearings. I have had many conversations with him about seal bearings, because we talked about ceramic bottom bracket bearings and stuff like that in the past. And he's a really interesting guy, a brilliant company. The other reason I went with Novatec is because they are seal bearings. I will probably bash them out, replace them with Japanese bearings fairly soon. However, most of the failures of the bearings, I will say, came from the mountain bike boys who got them wet, and I don't really intend to be riding this particular wheel set too much in the wet anyway. I'm very much a fair weather, cold weather, but fair weather rider. I hate going out in the rain. So there you go. So yeah, that was my decision, and I stand by that. So a quick overview of why I went with this. I am not a racer. I am a fitness leisure cyclist. When I'm at my fighting weight, which is huge, my fighting weight is 16 stone when I'm in really good shape. At the moment, I'm pushing 18, which is terrifying for me. and it's obviously really taking a massive toll, and I need to get cycling. In order for me to get cycling, I need to be motivated, and if you ask my wife, I am not the most motivated person in the world. I'm not self-motivated when it comes to stuff like this. Once I'm out on the bike, I love it. Once I'm out playing football, I love it. Once I'm doing any gym work, I love it. But I'm also a big house bunny, and getting me out of the house is really difficult. I have a really good friend that I go cycling with a lot, although we are kind of quite far apart now, like 50 miles apart, so we don't get out like we used to. We used to work together, so we used to cycle after work. That was a great motivator. The other reason for buying these particular wheels was aesthetics, and I just want to touch on this because I do think this is a massively important part of it. I mean, the wheel set is very light. Probably, for me, it's too light actually. I mean, spoke count's fine. I've got Ultegra SL wheels on my bike at the moment. They run, I've got, it's ridiculous, a 16 spoke front and an 18 spoke rear, and I've done 3,000 miles on them over 3 years or something like that. I don't know, like I said, I don't do a massive amount of cycling. No cracks, no bends, no nothing, apart from the one pothole incident. And they've run straight and true, and they've put up with my weight, so I don't hit potholes generally. I don't ride up curbs, I don't ride in pelotons, so I'm not blindsided. I do look where I'm going. I do like to cycle very fast, downhill especially, and use my weight to my advantage. And they've been fantastic. So I'm not too worried because the spoke count on these is 2420, I think. So I've already instantly got a higher spoke count. I think the spokes on these are, like I say, they're going to be Sapim CX Rays on these wheels, not the standard Chinese ones, because I did think it would be worth me upgrading the spokes. So yeah, so I'm from an aesthetics point of view, I'm hoping that what I will see is a bike that looks really cool and will encourage me to get out, because that's the way my brain works, and I'm sure I'm not alone like that. I mean, I do also play bass and have done since I was 12. I have a plethora of basses, and I have a black precision bass that does nothing for me. It just sits in the corner of the room. I've got a Warwick and a bass and a couple of basses that I've made myself, and they get me playing. I see them, I can't help but pick them up, and I'm going to hope that it's like that with the bike. It was certainly like that with the bike when I first put it together. And you know, every now and again we just need to treat ourselves and get going. So it's an aesthetic point of view as well, and I think that's really important. You know, people say, oh, you know, just go and buy a handmade wheel set for 400 quid with boring rims and boring stuff, and I know it will last forever, and I know it will be beautifully made, and I know blah blah blah, but it won't get me out on the bike, and I need to get out on the bike. You know, that's the long and short of it. So that plays a big part. So 50mm, I've actually bought some cosmic stickers to go on it, and some people will berate me for that. Well, you know, tough. You know, I'm advertising for Mavic, but again, it helps the aesthetics. And yeah, and anything that helps the aesthetics of a bike, encourages you to go out cycling, it cannot be a bad thing. So on top of that, you know, when it came to, I mean, I was very skeptical about buying from China, as a lot of people are. I did tons of research. I went with CSE because they have lots of really good feedback, pictures, comments. The guy corresponded really quickly, blah blah. So dealing with them was really cool. He gave me, I think, I'm hoping, because the box, you're actually sat on it, the box is right here in front of me. Hopefully in this box are a pair of 50mm carbon tubulars. The other thing that people berated me for on forums, and people get berated for, are buying tubular wheel sets when they don't ride in a race environment, and tubular should only be for racing. I would just explain that one of my main reasons for going with tubular and not clincher on these particular wheel sets is I have some friends also who work at a very high level for many of the Formula One teams, actually, doing carbon layup. And I've had a couple of chats with them about wheels and carbon and Chinese carbon and stuff like that in the past, and looking at frames. And there are certain things, don't get me wrong, there are certain parts, cycle parts, that I wouldn't buy in carbon in general, but certainly not from China, because I just don't think I trust them, if I'm honest. Handlebars are one, certainly mountain bike, too easy for them to break. I'm looking for some riser bars for my bike, and I looked at the Chinese ones that copy the Specialized ones. They look really cool, but I've seen a few failure videos on that, and you know, I'm a big guy and I'm putting a lot of weight on the bars, so I'll probably stick with Ali. I'm not too fussed on that one. Wheels, bizarrely, I know the hubs because of all the research and they've been around for a long time. I know the spokes because I know they're really good quality. And, you know, the wheels themselves, if you don't go smashing them into potholes or curbs, which I would try very hard not to do, they should be pretty good. They're circular, they're very strong shape. I think they're unidirectional underneath the 3K weave top coat anyway. I went for a 3K matte because of the stickers and stuff. So there you go. So that's that. So that's my kind of take on tubular. Oh, sorry, I didn't really explain why. So I didn't go for clinchers because having had a conversation with some of my mates in the carbon game, they said that there is still an issue with heat build-up on the rims when braking, especially for bigger guys, especially if you're doing long descents. Now, I do go to the Alps because I've got friends out there, and I do cycle down, and I do like speed, and I do like descending, and I do like going for it, and I'm quite good at it, actually, quite quick. So that was a concern for me, and this isn't just a Chinese thing. There are a couple of videos out there, a guy called Cycling Maven, who I'm sure many of you will know of, and if you don't, go and find him out, Australian guy, very interesting vlogs, I think they're called, but he's really into cycling. He did a really interesting section with a guy who does carbon professionally, layup, and he explains a lot about heat distortion on rims and stuff like that. My guys actually backed that up before I saw that video and said that if I was going to go for China for carbon, I should go for tubular because at least the braking surface is further down. It's a lot more carbon behind it. The tyres won't get quite so hot, the carbon will dissipate the heat more, therefore you won't have the issue of, you know, rims blowing out or delaminating. Anyway, that's the reason for tubular. It's not a racing thing, it's not a lightweight thing, it's just a practical thing, and I'm hoping that that's a good decision. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why most of the manufacturers are now heading off towards discs, especially using carbon wheels, because it means they can go back to clinchers without the fear of heat build-up on the rims. So there you go, that's it. So, yeah, happy with my decision. I've got a box of wheels, hopefully. I think the last thing to say about buying from China is these guys ship through EMS. The tracking's brilliant. They give you 3 tracking options, EMS, 17 track, and also Parcel Force. But because they use Parcel Force, you probably, or almost certainly now, and this is March 2018, will get import duty, VAT, and a Parcel Force handler's fee. It's not like it used to be. Stuff is getting stopped. Parcel Force are working with HM Customs, probably quite rightly. So you need to factor in that you will get charged, if you don't prepay it, you will get charged a handling fee by Parcel Force. It's around 13 quid. You will get charged VAT at 20% on the listed value on the wheel set, and you will get import duty if it's deemed to be, you know, if you deem to the item is deemed to need to be paid, duty paid. I had to wait for 5 days for mine to clear customs. The whole turnaround took about 16 or 17 days maximum. So probably that they were in the UK within 10 to 12 days, sat in customs over a weekend and 3 other working days. You also have to obviously pay the money to Parcel Force before they'll release the wheels anyway. So yeah, I had to do that. So I think on top of my costs for the wheels, I had to pay about another just under 40 quid to get them out of Parcel Force. So you need to factor that in as well if you're going to buy from China. So tips are communication, research, work out exactly what it is that you want, what you need to, and what you're going to do with them. Don't forget to factor in extra costs such as the handling fee, VAT, and import duty. Don't think you're going to get away with it. Factor it in. Don't take a punt, because if you suddenly get there and your wheels are suddenly 60 quid on top and you're tight on budget like I always am, you'll be really disappointed, because I'll end up going back to China and then you'll have to fight it out with AliExpress or whoever. I would also suggest going through someone like AliExpress, DHgate I think is the other one, and God forbid eBay. And I would also suggest that use a credit card with a very low credit limit. I don't have an issue with AliExpress. I've bought lots of stuff through there, all sorts of different bits and bobs. And I find it really good fun, actually, a lot of it. You do have the buyer protection with AliExpress. I haven't used DHgate. And I guess with eBay you have buyer protection as well. And also if you use a credit card, you know, there's always protection that way as well. So just be practical about it. What I have got, I hope, is a wheel set that looks really cool, will handle my weight, will be quick, bit of aero wouldn't hurt, although I think as a nearly 18 stone aero, it would probably be easier to get off me than it is to get off the wheels. And will give me some motivation to get out there. So all in, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's in here. So having said that, you know, if you've got any questions, need to know anything, please stick it in the comments box below. Subscribe to my channel. I'm mainly kind of bass, guitar, and a little bit of cycling. But yeah, hopefully there's some interesting stuff on there for you if you're into music and stuff like that. I will do some reviews going forward on these. I will do some reviews on my experience with using tubeless because I'm new to it all. So yeah, I'll get on with the unboxing. Watch this space.